just have patience. Victory and success will be ours. There will be no doubt, because we are fighting for the right cause. Our nation is on the right track, and therefore just have a bit of patience. Things will happen in the right way.
What are their vulnerabilities, Pakistan's vulnerabilities?
Indian Navy has got a strength in the North Arabian Sea, in the complete area. So it can exercise a sea control, sea denial, and particularly blockade the entire Karachi port as it was done during the 1971 war. With our SSBNs and SSNs and aircraft carriers and the advanced multi-purpose frigates and destroyers, we are able to have a complete sovereignty and a control over the sea.
What impact can it have on Pakistan's economy and their ability to hit at us if we do this maritime exclusion for them?
Almost 70 to 80% of their trade comes through the sea. Their war machinery is from the sea. If we choke that, their ability to continue operations inland will be affected very badly.
Would they ask China for help? Will China move a frigate? Will they do something?
China would not like to get involved in a war like this thing, because the moment, if it is a war-like situation, we would anyone supporting becomes a belligerent, and they will be also come under attack.
This episode is powered by easemytrip.com. Namaste, Jai Hind. You're watching or listening to another edition of the ENI podcast with Smita Prakash. My guest today is the 36th Vice Chief of the Indian Naval Staff, Vice Admiral Satish Kumar Ghormade. He was the commanding officer of the guided missile frigate Brahmaputra, the submarine rescue vessel Nirikshak, and minesweeper Aleppi, and was also second in command of the guided missile frigate Ganga. Vice Admiral Ghormade served as Director General Naval Operations and then took charge as Chief of Eastern Naval Command. He's also been Deputy Chief, Integrated Defence Staff, Operations and Training. He superannuated in 2023. So thank you so much for coming on the podcast. We're meeting under trying times. There is a lot of disinformation which is out, which is understandable that during times of conflict and a near war-like situation, everybody wants to be the first to break news, and sometimes for many reporters and anchors, it's their first so-called war-like situation that they're reporting on. Earlier, they might have reported on terror incidents, but it's the first time. Also, there are a number of firsts which are happening. I don't want to list them. I think most people by now know about it. But I want to know about the role of the Navy. The tri-services, of course, why the tri-services are being used this time for a terror attack which happened. Is it a terror attack? It is beyond a terror attack by the third day now. I just want to know what is the role of the Navy right now in this high-intensity conflict. And I will say high-intensity because if aircraft are used, missiles are being used, I would think it's high-intensity, but I'm not sure. So I just wanted to know what your view is. And also for viewers and listeners, we are recording this on the 9th of May. Things might change by tonight. So that caution I need to use while asking these questions. So over to you.
So the Indian Armed Forces are doing a coordinated operation. And I think our leadership has been very clear from the beginning, from the time Prime Minister gave the directions to the CDS and to the three chiefs, that they have given full freedom to the armed forces to act. And in this place, the Indian Navy plays a very important role from point of view of supporting the operations at land. On land. What happens is all three services are working in coordination and in tandem. And that has been the hallmark of our forces. We have done joint operations, we work together, we think alike. And over the years, the jointness has actually improved. 1971 war was one of the examples. But now the jointness and thinking alike is so much that we support each other. So the Navy provides a great amount of inputs to the Army and Air Force to take their operations well. Now, how they provide, I must not give it out immediately. But
okay, at this stage. You can't. But yeah. I'm sure you can give me a larger picture of what we can and what we have done. If you can go into the past, 71 baad mein aayenge. Let's discuss 71 later. But just to tell us that what are the vulnerabilities of Pakistan's maritime infrastructure and about their ports, their logistics, where is their vulnerability, and what is it that the Indian Navy could exploit? The second part, if you don't want to speak about it, I quite understand. But the first part of it, what are their vulnerabilities, Pakistan's vulnerabilities?
Firstly, Pakistan's vulnerabilities are that it got a much weaker navy than the Indian Navy. And Indian Navy has got a strength in the North Arabian Sea, in the complete area. So it can exercise a sea control, sea denial, and particularly blockade the entire Karachi port as it was done in during the 1971 war.
So explain what is sea denial, sea.
Now, yes. So sea control is that we have 2 aircraft carriers and we have got a large number of multi-purpose and advanced destroyers and frigates, which control this complete surface above the area, above the surface of water. So that area would be called sea control. Sea denial is through by preventing an enemy to come in an area, and that is normally done by submarines. The submarines do a sea denial, but with our SSBNs and SSNs and aircraft carriers and the advanced multi-purpose frigates and destroyers, we are able to have a complete sovereignty and a control over the sea, and that could be above water, on the surface and below water. So that is the purpose of the Indian Navy, to create that particular situation. Now, I would say what role the Navy plays. Navy has played a role in every operation, though it is a silent service. So the operations of the Navy are not visible to the public.
Why do you call it a silent service?
In the manner that when it was Kargil War, when the fight was in the Kargil Heights between the Army and Air Force were doing an excellent job, the Navy was deployed in North Arabian Sea. And at a time when the fight or the war was going at such a space, while Indians were coming, the Indian Army was doing an excellent job, there was a time that the breakthrough happened because Indian Navy deployed in North Arabian Sea, and it would have opened another front. And that desisted Pakistan to do ahead.
Okay.
This happened during the Kargil operations. It happened during the Parakram. It happened during Doklam. It happened during Galwan. All these times the Navy immediately deployed in the northern, and it drew out the chances that where it could open a front. And the best thing the Navy can do is choke its maritime lines of communication, because the hub of activity is Karachi. They have tried to open Gwadar, but Gwadar is still not a fully functional port. And on the Makran coast and this side, the Karachi continues to be the maritime hub of activity. And it is easy for us to choke that with our capabilities.
Okay. I'm not asking you whether we have choked Karachi as yet or not. That would be operational detail. But when you talk about these multi-purpose frigates and the submarines, compare it to what Pakistan has. I mean, everybody does this aircraft to aircraft, tanks to tanks, missiles to missiles. So compare and contrast Pakistan's abilities, their arsenal, as compared to Indian Navy's.
Yeah, in this case, Indian Navy is much ahead of Pakistan Navy. And the best thing is here is we work on capabilities. Capabilities in all domains of warfare. It is whether the surface, undersea, above the surface. So all these in all domains of warfare, air, surface and subsurface. And in addition, space and information warfare. Now in all these domains, the Indian Navy is much ahead. The question here is how do we employ them? Those are the specific tactics and strategy which we employ. And in that also, just because I think we have a very professional force and a very well trained and a force which has gone into action at all times. You had seen that Indian Navy was the only navy in the entire Arabian Sea which was active in the anti-piracy operations. There were large number of extra-regional navies, but in the last 2 years especially, when the piracy got in and or the Red Sea operation started, Indian Navy was proactive and escorted ships out of danger, assisted ships out of danger. So in that way, I think it's a very, very well-seasoned Navy which will be able to take on its tasks of providing maritime security to the nation.
So when you talk about naval blockade of Pakistan, how long does it take? I'm not saying that we are doing it right now. Again, I'm clarifying that at the time of filing this report, we are still not sure whether a naval blockade has happened or not. We're recording on the 9th of May. So if we have to do a naval blockade, how long does it take for the Indian Navy to do that blockade? Presuming that it's been deployed already on the Western Front.
Yeah, I think the best thing about the navies are that it provides a great amount of deterrence all the time. It's a peacetime to wartime for Navy is a split second actually, because the 12 nautical miles is the territorial waters.
Okay.
Beyond territorial waters, it is international waters. Though you are in the contiguous zone and the exclusive economic zone, which is of 200 nautical miles, but any ship can enter an area beyond 12 nautical miles. And so beyond 12 nautical miles, it is peacetime. And inside 12 nautical miles, you are into the territorial waters of the coastal nation, and therefore you could be into a warlike situation.
Have we reached you?
We've
not.
We don't.
We don't cross.
We don't have to enter because we have enough
The
standoff
missile.
weapons.
Okay.
And so therefore we and our I think the India's stand has been non-escalatory. I think we have been India has been telling it throughout that we are non-escalatory. We want always peace and stability in our region, and we work for it. The question here is, if a situation has been created by Pakistan and they continue to support the terrors, our war is against terrors. Our war is against terrorism against the humanity. I think that is where our armed forces are standing out.
But on the 7th of May, we did deploy from the naval resources.
Yes, we did. We have to, because
now it's come out.
We have deployed right from the day one. Actually, we were deployed even before 22nd because Indian Navy is mission deployed throughout.
No, but we used weapons with the aid of the Navy on the 7th of May, isn't it?
That is a matter of detail which I will not be able to say because that I think let the government say the
Right. Okay. When we were talking about blockade and maritime exclusion, what impact can it have on Pakistan's economy and their ability to hit at us if we do this maritime exclusion against them?
No, so the question here is it affects their economy very much because their trade, almost 70 to 80% of their trade comes through the sea, and complete oil pipelines and the with which their war machinery is running is from the sea. Now, in this case, if we choke that, their ability to continue operations inland will be affected very badly. So this is an thing which we will excise when it is required or would be done as per the plans which would already been made.
I mean, I can't resist now. I have to go into 71. When the 7th Fleet was coming, was this because we were trying to choke them?
We had already choked them.
We had already choked.
Actually, on the 4th of December, when we attacked Karachi, that was the time that the Pakistan Navy got bottled up inside, because they did not imagine that an attack with missiles, boats could be done on Karachi and ships. And when we sank 2 destroyers of Karachi Harbour, the PNS Muhafiz and also an MV Venice Challenger, which was carrying the ammunition to Karachi. They couldn't imagine that this could have happened, and then they just bottled up inside. And then we had also struck the QMRE tanks, which set the whole oil tanks storage facility on fire, and almost 50% of their reserve oil was destroyed.
Okay.
So that affected them very badly.
Did they move their tankers away from there subsequently after 71? Because of the vulnerability of Karachi?
They have made opportunity at Ormara and Gwadar port. But
Gwadar is not functional all that much.
Not fully functional. Ormara is a very small port again. So again, their whole infrastructure is at Karachi.
Okay, it's still vulnerable.
Exactly.
Would they be, at that time America came to their rescue, if you were to wargame this, would they ask China for help? Will China move a frigate? Will they do something? Will China, I mean, just saying frigate, but I don't know what they will use. Any vessel. Do you see China getting involved like this?
I don't think so. That China would not like to get involved in a war like this thing. Because the moment, if it is a warlike situation, we would, anyone supporting becomes a belligerent. And they will be also come under attack. The question is, we are, our geographic location in Indian Ocean region is the biggest advantage we have.
Okay.
In addition to our capability. We have mission-borne deployed ships in all over the region from 2017 onwards. It's not today. We have been deploying ships on mission. That means we have a ship in Malacca Strait opening, all the choke points, on Persian Gulf, Strait of Hormuz, and also Sunda Strait in areas. In that way, we are able to monitor any ship, submarine coming into our area. So any ship which comes in our area, we actually welcome them every time.
Okay. Tell me about submarines. Are they also on a state of deployment at any point of time? And what happens when a submarine is deployed against an enemy nation with the intention of not just monitoring but attacking? How does that work?
So our submarines, when we are ready for war, we are deployed with our submarines. That means submarines are ready.
Simultaneously.
Yes, because there are potent platforms, and it means that it is carrying its armament with it, and it is deployed on a war patrol. And when it is on a war patrol, it is ready to go into action at any time. So it just needs the clearance from the government. That's all.
And how does a submarine hit the enemy's naval vessel? What kind of what is the target for a submarine? Basic question I'm asking.
The target would be an enemy ship or an enemy submarine.
Okay.
So these two are the main targets, and if required, a merchant vessel which is also heading towards the enemy.
That's also
port.
Could be targeted
because it's a belligerent, because it is carrying supplies for the nation.
I see. So
and
now
that supplies are also part of belligerence.
So an oil tanker, but that doesn't a country have to be in a state of war?
Yes.
Right. So it has to be a declared state of war to attack an oil tanker, right? We have not yet, India
exactly.
On the 9th of May as yet, we have not yet declared a state of war against Pakistan. So if there is an oil tanker which is going towards Karachi right now, can an Indian Navy submarine attack that oil tanker?
I do not think we will attack at this particular time.
Okay.
It is part of the escalatory ladder, and India is not in the mode of escalatory. We have already stated it a number of times.
Right.
We want Pakistan to come to the tables to discuss, but discuss in such a manner that it puts an end to the terrorism. Unfortunately, we have given them many options. I think India has been magnanimous. India has been tolerant over the years. We have had so many incidents. We have lost so many innocent lives. Today also, we have lost 18 innocent lives on the line of control. The unprovoked firing.
Yes.
In the last few days.
Yes.
Unprovoked firing, and they are targeting our civilians. I think if Pakistan army targets our civilians, that itself is an act of war, actually, if we would like to consider.
We are justified in escalating.
In escalating. But still we are not escalating. I think that itself being a responsible
why
nation.
is it, just to be the devil's advocate, why are our forces asked to retaliate with our hands tied to the back?
Actually, I would say in this particular time, we have not really told this time Prime Minister Modi has given a very perfect direction in which he said he has full faith in the armed forces and he has given full liberty to the armed forces. But yet we are in the state of very responsible nation where we are not in the stage of escalating the war to a situation, because we still don't want to affect the common Pakistani. Our heart still goes out with the common Pakistani who is suffering because of the leadership and the terrorist activities which are being generated by the leadership for the ends of that particular leadership which is helping the terrorists.
So, but when you do a sea-launched missile strike, like if you were to use a BrahMos, the impact will be there on civilians also, right? I mean,
no, but we will target military targets. And if there is a collateral damage, that is accepted in war. I think we just can't be, if there are civilians living in that area, either they should have left that area before when the war breaks out. But the aim is to target military targets only. If that situation comes. At present, we have been only targeting the terrorist hideouts and terrorist headquarters. But we have also given now that if they attack our military installations, then the response would be accordingly.
But haven't we already attacked their military installations if we are dropping missiles in Pindi, in Rawalpindi?
Yeah, because they deserved it. It was in the same domain of warfare and with the same intensity with which they have attacked us.
So there's this, which you're talking about is that civilians are, it can happen because now garrison towns, they have a lot of civilian, baste hain wahan pe, ird-gird, right? There was a time where the cantonment was away from the main city. Now the cantonments are all in the middle of the city because cities have enlarged.
Exactly.
So while you can claim that, they didn't evacuate, where do you evacuate? Because there are literally hundreds of thousands of people living around. Even if we look at our on the western front, if we look at our cities, our cantonment areas, you look at just let me say, because last night Ambala and today Chandi Mandir, these are there are sirens going off at night, there are sirens going off in the morning. I'm just giving you an example of these two. They are right in the middle of the city. How do you protect it? What do you do? There are flyovers overlooking those cantonment towns.
That's right.
So
in that case, see, now here again we are dealing with an enemy who doesn't follow any ethics. So, and we have to prevent war. We have to bring peace to the area. We have to bring peace to our nation. And in that, if we have to take actions which are in our national interests, then we'll have to take that action.
Because when Israel fights a Hamas, they're fighting a terror organization.
Yes.
So no rules apply. There's like, how do you have rules of engagement which are traditional rules of engagement of war when you're fighting a terror group? Here, we have an Army, Navy, Air Force of the Pakistan tri-services who should be using rules of engagement with regard to how internationally wars are fought. But they're not doing that.
They're not doing it.
Right?
No, why I'll tell you, because again, I think the whole Pakistan's bluff has been called off this time very clearly, because after the attack on the 7th, on the Lashkar-e-Taiba and Hizbul Mujahideen, the funeral which took place, the generals of the army and armed forces and police forces are paying homage to a terrorist. Now, if you are paying homage to a terrorist and attending the funeral, then where is this support happening?
And draping the national flag
on the national flag. So therefore, I think
on the bodies, on the coffins of the
that
terrorists.
State, if it is called terrorist state, we won't be wrong. And therefore, we are fighting terror, a war on terror. And
so the strategic deterrence, escalation management, how does it work against a nation which is a quasi-terror state? I mean, if I was to be kind, I'd call it a quasi-terror or quasi-rogue state.
You've been really kind, I must say. The question here is, no, so therefore now we have to act in a manner that we prevent this happening again. We have to learn from the lessons of history. We have been too tolerant. We have done a lot to bring peace to the thing. We have shown restraint. Even after the 22nd barbaric attack, we waited for a fortnight for Pakistan to act. Pakistan should have shown some semblance of order in saying, bringing the terrorists to book, and they should have helped India in catching the terrorists. Had they done that, instead their rhetoric was in a different direction. I think the state-sponsored terrorism is one which Pakistan is supporting, and it is Pakistan who is escalating in this particular case.
So let's go back. First, let's do 1971, and then we can do Parakram and 2611 after that, and the role of the Navy. In 71, there were two strikes, naval strikes on Karachi.
Yeah.
Right?
Operation Trident and Operation Python.
Okay, so explain these two operations
So
to me.
Operation Trident was on the night on the 4th of December, which we had 3 missile boats, the Nipat, Nirghat and Veer, towed by 2 ASW corvettes, the Katchal and Kamorta. These 2 ships towed these missile boats, and they had sailed out much in advance and were deployed off Porbandar in advance, and they knew this area. They had done some recce and
The Gujarat-Kutch region.
Gujarat-Kutch region. And on the 4th of December, they sailed out and reached off Karachi within the range of the Strikes missiles. These were the recently bought Russian missile boats. They launched, they got the target on the radar and launched attacks on the ships which were off Karachi. And even before they could realize from where did these missiles come, the ships actually sank.
Okay.
And
why do you think they didn't realize? They didn't have radars. Satellite technology was not that advanced.
Not that advanced. It was that's why the attack was planned in the night, and the air cover was also not available in the night at sea from the Karachi. So all this was thought out in that particular. They didn't have that capability, and therefore the attack was planned in the night of 4th, 5th December. And once they launched the attack on the 2 destroyers of Pakistan, and they sank. Then they saw the Kyomari oil storage tank, and a missile was launched on that, and that was also set ablaze.
Okay.
So before they could realize, these missile boats then sped off from that area, and they were towed and brought back.
Okay.
So they didn't realize that from where. Even the Russians, the Admiral Gorshkov, when he came to know how these missile boats are utilized, they came and he came and met the commanding officers and said that I could have never imagined that these missile boats could be utilized in such an attack.
Okay.
So then this was followed up by a repeat attack on 8th and 9th December, which was Python. The ship Vinash with 2 more frigates, that is Talwar and Trishul, they sailed out and came off Karachi and located another 2 ships, and they sank them. And also again targeted the Kyomari oil fields.
Okay.
Now in this particular way, the entire Pakistan, the Karachi port was blockaded, and no ship entered or left Karachi Harbour for the next 15 days.
How do you think it impacted on the 71 war completely?
It fully impacted because firstly it choked their oil supplies, and it brought them into that situation that whilst the actions was happening in the East Pakistan, but from the western side also, so much pressure came onto there.
That in another 6 or 8 days and the war was over.
And the war was over. That's right.
Right. So when you don't have supplies, so this is how supplies can get affected.
In fact, in that particular time, any ship entering North Arabian Sea and wanting to go towards Pakistan was seeking permission from the flag officer commanding Western Naval Command to enter that area. Any foreign vessel, because they knew that the entire area was under control of India.
So when you heard about Operation Sindoor, I mean, you superannuated, but when you heard about Operation Sindoor, was your reaction that this is going to be a tri-services operation? You knew it?
Yeah, I knew it. There is no doubt. Fortunately, I have been the Director General Naval Operations, where we had always worked with the Director General Military Operations and Air Operations, and we used to plan things together because it's something which all the 3 services do together.
So this kind of a scenario has been war gamed in the sense that a terror attack of this enormous proportion will be met with the tri-services.
Yes. It's actually this process and training and thinking continues all the time in the armed forces. We are working at it at various levels. At the junior levels and at the senior level, and when we are at this particular position, that is something which we keep thinking in advance earlier.
Right. So there are certain protocols in place which automatically go into action.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. And we always decide, obviously, based on the target which we want to engage, which will be the lead service. Which service is the best in position to engage that?
Okay.
And that will be taken, and where the support will be given by the other service.
So we as civilians, as journalists, we can see pictures where the three service chiefs are sitting with the NSA, with the CDS, with the Prime Minister, Raksha Mantri, Raksha Rajya Mantri, Home Minister. When they're sitting in this, usually what kind of talk happens in these rooms?
Obviously, they would be discussing what will be the strategy and tactics. And I think the leadership decides based on the situation what is to be done. And there will be options given by the chiefs on what can be done. And based on that, the political leadership decides.
So when a chief, like suppose the naval chief says that we can go in tomorrow, or we shouldn't go in tomorrow, or we can go in a week's time. My advice is to go in a week's time. But who takes the decision then?
So it's a very, very collective and consensus decision based on the national interest.
Okay.
That means what is the objective at the end of the day. So what is the desired end state the nation wants, and based on that the actions are taken.
So when Trident and Python, these two things which happened in 71, what were the lessons that the Indian Navy learned from Operation Trident, Operation Python, which later you could put to use during Operation Parakram and during just after 26/11?
So here actually surprise was the greatest achievement, and it's one of the principles of war. Which all of us learn, Army, Navy and Air Force. So to surprise the enemy is the most important. So we've learned that particular lesson, and utilization of our available resources to the best ability to achieve the desired aim. So that was what was learned. Now over the period, due to advancement, due to more battle transparency, things have changed, and therefore the tactics and strategy are applied in a much more challenging manner, in the sense manner that the thought process will be much more now.
Okay. What is the biggest strength currently of the Indian Navy?
The Indian Navy has got 2 aircraft carriers, 2 SSBNs, submarines, multi-dimensional frigates. It's got capability of surveillance. It has got capability of underwater. So in all dimensions, the Navy has progressed.
So I asked you a question earlier about in the 71 episode about the US 7th Fleet. And then I also asked you about China, that will they get involved this time? And you said that it's unlikely, because then they are also could be used as targets. But if at all, in a scenario where the Pakistan Navy and the Chinese Navy, they collude, can the Indian Navy take on this kind of a collusion?
Yes. And see, I would say when you talk about collusion could be covert and overt. Overt will not happen, but covert will positively happen. And we are prepared for that. In covert, they are going to provide them the intelligence support. They'll be providing them surveillance. They'll be providing information, and maybe also providing weapons.
How do we get to know whether they are giving information about the movement of our...
Information they would be giving, because it's a space-based information. So we expect that it is being given.
Okay.
So we will prevent that happening by
But the element of surprise is gone, which you said was one of the biggest strengths in 71.
That's right.
That element of surprise is gone if they get all the information, right?
That's correct. That is right. And so therefore now it is more of a capability, and using our standoff weapons, which give us more capability, in the sense that we can hit a target much away from what we could hit it when we in 1971.
So one question which I always ask, I asked General Dhillon day before yesterday when we shot, was about the nuclear bogey. They will keep using, Pakistan keeps talking about the nuclear bogey, and they use it very loosely. Loose terminology कि हमारे पास बम है, हम बम फेंक देंगे, ऐसे ही थोड़ी ना रखा हुआ है, मजे के लिए थोड़ी ना रखा है. Very loose manner their leadership uses the nuclear threat. How does the Indian Navy cope with that? Do we have it in our radar? Do we know where those bombs are placed? I mean, of course, everybody knows that it's not in one place that the whole bomb is placed. There, in various locations. How do you see that? How do you know the locations?
See, that is the matter of detail for the Strategic Forces Command. So I think that it's better not discussed.
Okay.
The question here is the nuclear bogey they would like to call, but we also know that they know that if such a thing happens, they are second strike capability, that is no first use policy, and we will be able to annihilate them totally. And I think that is a big deterrence.
Okay.
Therefore, they'll have to really think before such a thing happens.
When they got a bloody nose in 71, did they not buy submarines after that? Do they have, how many do they have? What do they have as far as their navy is concerned?
No, they have submarines, but their submarines are all now old and of vintage. And they are buying new submarines from China. The Hangar class, and 8 of them.
Has it?
No, not yet delivered.
Not yet delivered.
They are first and second are in the process of delivery, and the rest will happen over a period of time.
So, can they buy emergency from?
No, it doesn't happen. Submarines take their own time to be built and to be even to be movement from China to Pakistan.
Okay.
And the balance which they are trying to will be constructing will take their time.
Constructing as
because they are going to build 4 in Karachi out of the 8.
Okay.
4 will be made in China and 4 in Karachi.
They actually build submarines?
With
they
the
have
help of
that
China.
capacity?
With the help of China.
So another country which seems to be helping or at least overtly helping Pakistan in narrative building terms, I don't know militarily how much they're doing, is Turkey. Can they buy from Turkey at this stage emergency supplies? Can they get from Turkey on lease?
They can get ships probably, but based from Turkey, which they have been buying and they've been building also with the help of Turkey. Now, for submarines, I would say we have built Scorpion submarines with the help of French technology. We built the initial SSK submarines with German technology. So this has been happening. It's not something which is there. But at this stage, how much Turkey provides to Pakistan is a matter of debate and the capability of Turkey to provide this.
How can this collusion between Turkey and Pakistan be detrimental to India?
It will be detrimental because it will provide some capability to Pakistan. And again, this will not be viewed rightly by India for Turkey.
Okay, so last night and the night before that, we saw a lot of use of, especially during the day yesterday, we saw a lot of use of drones, India using drones. Does the Navy use drones in what way? And if you could tell me about when the drone.
We have been using drones for quite some time now, at least for the last 3 to 5 years. And they are used in all the measures possible. And we will utilize drones extensively in this particular situation.
For what purposes?
They would be used for dropping ammunition. They'll be used for logistics. They'll be used for surveillance. So in all these measures, the drones would be utilized.
They're probably being used right now, right?
They would be. I think
in a situation like this.
The nature of warfare has changed so much that the drones have become one of the weapon. We have seen it happening in Azerbaijan, Armenia, Russia, Ukraine. We have seen it in the Israel-Hamas. So
it's really changed the war theatre.
Nature of warfare.
Right. Yeah. Who gives the orders is what I want to know, in the sense that, okay, now the naval drones will drop ammo or they will drop ordnance.
See, this is a coordinated operation which is planned between the 3 services and with the integrated defense staff, and we have a CDS at present. I think our leadership is really perfect now. We couldn't have a better leadership than this. Whether the CDS, the 3 chiefs, they are completely working together, and the coordinated operations would happen in this manner. And the Prime Minister giving the direction that I have full faith and full freedom to the armed forces. That itself is such a great order, I think, which could have been which shows the confidence of the armed forces in this.
So can you explain to me when, if you can, when was this order not given like this? Like, do we have do have situations in the past when we did not have this kind of an order?
I would say Kargil was one situation where the Air Force was asked not to cross the line of control in that particular situation. In 1965, the Indian Navy was not utilized where we had this thing. So these were the occasions when entire confidence was not shown and we were held back. Like you said, tying your hands behind and fighting.
Yeah.
But in this particular situation, I think the orders have been very, very clearly given. Firstly, I think our armed forces are also responsible. That means they will do responsible acts together. That's the confidence level in our leadership.
That they won't be bravado.
They won't do bravado. They will do something which is right and to achieve the desired end state again.
Okay. The 3 days that you have been watching, what do you think that Pakistan escalated the situation overnight, crossing the border, doing things which, do you think that they don't want an off-ramp, or are they pushing us to want to have an off-ramp and have talks to de-escalate?
Pakistan is a status of tumultuous confusion, I must say, because firstly, their persistent proxy war is one of the major issues there. So they have been working on this particular. They know they don't have the capability, but to divert the attention of the public, this incident has happened of Pahalgam. They generated this particular terrorist attack. Now, once they have diverted, now again they know they don't have the capability. They're economically backward. They are in a state of total instability in Pakistan. They have Balochistan in hand. They are the Afghan Taliban, Tehreek-e-Taliban on the Western Front. They have this side. So it couldn't have been a worse time for Pakistan actually. But now that they probably thought India would not react, would come back with such measure in a well calculated and a measured manner. Now they have to react because they were attacked in Punjab, in Bahawalpur and Muridke. And therefore now to show to the public, they have to also act. And therefore these firings.
So
and
it's a street dictated
it is a
operation.
street dictated, exactly. That is the status of Pakistan. And that's why Pakistan has always been unpredictable. They don't know what they're doing. But they want to create a situation and then force it in such a manner.
But it's difficult, right? For us also, if you have an unpredictable army, it's difficult.
Exactly. It is difficult. And that's why it's very challenging. Therefore, we have to be much stronger and we have to be much united, and we have to ensure that our complete comprehensive national power is utilized to bring down such an enemy.
So post Pahalgam attack, there was the what we did was we put the Indus Water Treaty in abeyance. So that's being seen as a kind of a long war as compared to what for the past 3 days we have been seeing, which are kinetic action.
That's right.
So explain to me the strength of these long war tactics coupled with kinetic action.
Yeah, so therefore this is where all the diplomatic, informational, military and economic actions are working together, because that will bring the pressure on Pakistan to relent. And that is where we are doing extremely well this time. I think that must continue. And the utilization of the Indus Water, putting the Indus Water Treaty in abeyance was a very, very correct and smart move by the Indian government, because that's how they will get that the pressure will be on them. And then we use kinetic as required, which is on an escalatory mode. That means when they do, we are giving them. So we are proactively positioned, but we are not acting in a proactive manner because we don't want to escalate. That is the whole purpose. But at the same time, we would give them befitting and a reply that in such a manner that they don't act again in this particular manner. That's the whole purpose of this.
But
action.
being deployed for a long time and indefinitely, that puts a lot of pressure. We saw that during Parakram.
Yes.
Can you tell me what happened during Parakram and what kind of pressure it put on the Navy? I mean, on the Army, and is well documented about people dying, the soldiers dying of snake bite and all, and our casualties were more than than they were in the 71 war, because it just went on for so long, and for non-kinetic casualties, non-kinetic action related casualties. Tell me about the state of the Navy to be continuously deployed over a long period of time. What are the pressures that can happen?
Yeah, for the Navy, it is a logistics which at sea, which are the things which we need to look at for long-term deployment. And for that, we cater for those logistics, and therefore we have tankers which supplement our ships at sea and sustain them at sea. So that did work at that particular time. And since we are deployed in Northern Arabian Sea, we had our ports and we could come back and replenish, and ships could replenish. So I think the strength of the Navy was that we had mobility, flexibility, and able to sustain sustainability at sea because of this particular thing. The Navy actually has progressed much better than the Pakistan Navy. So it was easier to handle that particular.
Progressed in the sense we have bought more, we have made more, built more?
We have built and made more.
Okay.
We have been on the process of indigenization right from beginning. Okay. And therefore, we have been able to build over 100 warships in India itself. And today itself, we have almost 62 ships under construction in our naval shipyards. Only one is being constructed outside. And we have almost 30 to 35 on order ahead, which will also come up. So it's a constant process. I think our capability development is a process. It has long gestation period. Therefore, our plans are made 15 to 20 years ahead in advance all the time.
After Balakot, did you expect, was the Navy deployed at that stage, and what happened then?
Again, we were deployed, but there was no requirement of any action at that particular time. But deployment itself was enough to deter Pakistan to venture into any misadventurism at sea.
So that was a contained thing, but this time it's not going. It's not expected to be that, right?
Exactly.
All services are being used, and what I found surprising was that right from the beginning, it was very clear that all services will be used.
Very true.
Right?
Exactly.
But we are not seeing so far the armies put into action. Like we're not seeing a build-up on the borders. We're not seeing troop movement happening. Not that I'm giving out any details which could put the army in jeopardy, but I'm just saying we are not seeing tanks and heavy artillery movement which is happening on either side of the border. Even their side, it doesn't seem like, or they're already deployed. That is also possible.
It could be anything like that.
It could be anything of that sort.
Exactly.
So we're not exactly sure. For citizens, for common citizens, it is a stressful time. Sirens going out, blackout, watching. In the first couple of days, there's excitement when you see the activity happening. But there are homes which are being destroyed. We've already had dozens of people who are dead and injured also. So for common people who have children going to school, who have essential travel to do, who might want to go to a temple or a mosque or a gurdwara, could you tell us how we should conduct ourselves in these times?
Yeah, so this is actually a moment of reckoning for our country. And here we need to stand united. And therefore, the whole support of the entire citizens of India is essential. And therefore, they have to place complete trust in the armed forces, which our whole actually complete population is having that trust, and they have actually shown it during the last few days. They need to have a lot of patience and take precautions as which are required, which the state governments and the Home Ministry have already instituted, in which manner that they have said the drills to be carried out, and if there are sirens, then do a blackout and then remain in the trenches if required at certain stages, and some amount of inconvenience will have to be taken into, because the nation is in a situation where we need to teach the other side, the terrorists, a lesson and ensure that such incidents don't happen. So I would just request the entire our civil population to take this in a manner of stride. It may be prolonged based on how Pakistan reacts, but at that particular time, I think a responsible action by every citizen will save lives and also will be in the interest of the nation.
Also, people in leadership positions, they should advise not to hoard. That is a
Exactly.
major problem. I mean, everybody remembers during 1971 there was,
Yeah.
I mean, those who were born later would not know this, but there was this whole thing about advising the people that there is no need to hoard up on essentials.
Stocks.
So,
Exactly.
could you tell us about that also? Medical supplies, food supplies, whatever.
Exactly. I think over the period, the country has also progressed so much that we have essential supplies adequately available. And the state governments are doing their job in providing them to in enough quantities, and therefore hoarding is really not required. You may have stocks for few days for your own self, but the rest of it, there will be enough which the government will supply, and there are enough measures placed in by the government and enough agencies in the government working on this particular manner that the common man will reach with all the medical supplies and all the provisions which are really essential for their day-to-day survival.
So also we are in May, and this is the time for summer vacations for for children. So what should people do for travel plans? Is it okay to go to hill stations, go to and if they are traveling, what kind of precautions should people take when they travel, or should they cancel travel plans at this stage?
Actually, they should not travel to areas which are likely to be affected, where Pakistan can do their misadventure. So therefore, those areas are best avoided at this particular stage. Secondly, and in other places, of course, India is a vast country, so there's enough place to travel, I would say. But wherever you are doing, I think the basic precautions of because of the way our enemy is just unreliable, and they would do anything to get at our common citizens. Therefore, I think a little bit of alertness, which is required at all times, at this time more must be maintained by that when you're traveling, be safe. Don't go and see that in areas where you're likely to be ambushed by terrorists or by sleeper cells which they can activate, because Pakistan has been generating various sleeper cells throughout our country, and they do they may lie dormant, but they can activate at that particular time. So therefore, a basic precaution and alertness would help that we remain safe. While we remain safe, we are actually doing in good for the nation, because we are not our resources are not being diverted to a certain activity which could be avoided.
Okay. Lastly, your advice to the media, because you've seen how cyber operations from the enemy can impact in a very detrimental manner war operations. Though we are not at war, it seems like we are in a conflict situation bordering on war. And if there is no escalation, very good. But if an escalation happens, these cyber tactics employed by the enemy can impact. So how should the media conduct itself? Your advice, sir.
My advice to the media especially is to do a very, very responsible and ethical reporting. In the sense, let's report in a manner with whatever known facts, and what are not known, it is better not to report them. We are doing more for the nation by correct reporting, and there is no need to sensationalize any news that particular stage. And the psyops and cyber warfare is actually in progress from the other side. The fact that they were giving away false informations, the ministers were giving some information which was checked by the media themselves. So this type of thing is happening. And cyber warfare also is in progress, because the Pakistanis are, with their help of their own nations, others also which would be helping, can help them in cyber warfare, which can affect and spread some information which will be detrimental to our nation. And therefore, such type of information should not be spread, and be very responsible in taking information and protecting your own self, because mobiles itself, the amount of media information which is going on, that is something which need to be checked in a manner. And the media, I would say, needs to be really responsible at this particular stage, that we need to report only what is the government giving. And I think the government has done extremely well in giving out a press briefing on the 7th, 8th, and as necessary, a press briefing will come out. So
and very calibrated
and
press
very
briefings.
Calibrated. And I think we should just follow that particular aspect. That this will ensure that you are doing actually service to the nation by doing this. And every person matters in our country who can
not
contribute.
just traditional media and social media. If you have a cell phone and you are sending a WhatsApp or you're posting something on Facebook, you automatically become a media personnel.
Exactly.
I wish people would understand that it's not just my responsibility as a journalist. If you are posting something on WhatsApp,
yes,
especially in groups, you become a media person.
Media person, and you are spreading information which may not be correct at times without realizing it. And therefore, I think that responsibility each person has to take. And it will do good to that person actually. And there will be targeted attacks from the ISI personnel. They have a network working. They have a cyber working on this particular stage, and they would like to affect our people. They would like to affect the thinking of our people. They would like to bring out some SI information and
it's coming out warfare in a very subtle manner. For example, there'll be somebody who will WhatsApp me a question to say, is it true that 4 of our planes have been hit and 6 of our whatever personnel have died? Is it true that we have downed 2 of their planes? And I was like, if I have the information, I will give it to you when I think is right.
Very true. I think we need to be very, very clear on this.
Just because I have an information, I'm not giving it out to you. When I am ready to give that information, I will give it out.
Exactly.
It's not necessary that every time you get even a sliver of information, you need to give it out. Yes, in times of non-conflict situations, I well understand. But these are not normal times. So even as a citizen, if you have information, keep it with yourself unless you think it is a benign information.
Exactly.
I would think that. And especially so, sir, for families of people who are on deployment.
Yes.
That's
very,
another
very
message.
Important. Very important.
For wives, daughters, mothers, for brothers, nephews, uncles, do not give out information as to where your relative has been posted, where he is going, where his family is going on leave, whether he is writing in or not. So there used to be a time jo redact hota tha. Postcards used to come and they used to get redacted.
Very true.
That's
very important. And do not give away information on phone at all, because they will continuously target, and especially those families of the armed forces. They would want to know where they're moving, what is happening, what is the deployment pattern. All this comes out from the phone. So I think that is where a responsible person will not give any information in this.
Just a simple thing of a soldier telling his wife, आज रात को मैं phone नहीं कर सकता हूँ, आज मैं busy हूँ.
That is also very important information.
Is important information. That if it is being heard by anybody, it doesn't have to be tapped to hear.
Exactly. That's true.
If suppose there's somebody monitoring your phone from China, and many people think, मेरा क्यों होगा? मैं तो सिर्फ बीवी हूँ.
That's right.
मैं तो सिर्फ बेटी हूँ. But it can.
But it can happen, and therefore that needs to be really checked.
Or just simple thing that मैं एक हफ्ते तक आ नहीं सकती हूँ क्योंकि मेरे हस्बैंड एक हफ्ते काम पे ड्यूटी पे टूर पे है.
That's right. That also is something. So best is, I think most ladies in armed forces are taught to say, I don't know at all. And that seems a better thing, because even my wife never told anything about. Somebody asked, she said, ki, I don't know, where is he and what is he doing. I'm just not aware. And
so
she doesn't share anything. So at times they say, Acha, he doesn't share anything with you. But he said, no, that is the way it is. And
so my mother found it easier to say, my dad was, if he was in Punjab, she'd say Rajasthan. It was just easier.
Easier, correct.
Rather than saying कि नहीं पता, वो saying क्यों नहीं पता, तो मुझे नहीं बताओगी, उसको बताओगी.
Correct.
Rather than say that,
that's also a good way.
She would just say it like that. It just became easier to tell. Even for journalists, it's best to hold information and give it out when
it
need
is
be.
at the right time. Actually,
Right time.
that really makes balanced